This is Meltdown Live, presented by MyBookie.ag. Use code NEXTROUND at MyBookie.ag for double your initial deposit. You sign on to make a deposit, they double it with code NEXTROUND at MyBookie.ag. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere. MyBookie.ag.
Welcome in. We are live with you here on this Monday in this final few days of 2024 as we have a lot of content that is looking back at the year in cinema. I am your Meltdown host, Tim Melton. So thrilled to have you here with us over the next hour or so on Meltdown Live here with you, 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern. We appreciate your subscription here to the channel and all of your participation. Let's go to Tyler Johns, who's here with me, holding down the fort as we are winding down this year, heading into 2025. Lots to be excited about. We've talked about our most excited projects for 2025. Those videos up on the channel right now.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. We each went over the 10 most anticipated movies for each of us that are coming out next year. And there's a little bit of overlap, more than I was expecting. I expected some because there are just some major event movies coming out next year that I thought we both have on the list. But there were some also sneakier picks that we both shared. It was nice to
Absolutely.
see.
They're two very diverse lists
Oh,
for
definitely.
sure, but there is some overlap and some things that we share there. And one thing that we're both very excited for is this James Gunn Superman project. We've talked about it on the show a lot. We had our trailer reaction, which is up on the channel, and we have been geeking out over, for me, everything Superman since that trailer. I'm going to watch the Donner cut of Superman 2 tonight, and I'm looking very forward to that. I rewatched the 78 Superman not too long ago, so I'm in a Superman mood right now for sure. And DC has been cooking for what feels like the past few months. I mean, we got not only an awesome Batman back in 2022,
Oh, yeah.
but we also got a great complimentary piece in the Penguin television series, which, for those who may not have heard, you absolutely love, Tyler. I did as well.
Oh, yeah, that might be just some of the best storytelling I've seen all year, whether it be on the big screen or on the small screen. I mean, it is just 8 episodes of nonstop action and drama and intrigue. It
And
is amazing.
it did its job of not only enhancing the 2022 Batman movie,
Mhm.
but also making a good first impression with characters that were not in that film
Oh,
that
yeah.
have come across that we now are emotionally vested in and really would like to see them incorporated into Matt Reeves' Batman universe. We got this Superman trailer, obviously. DC's been doing a lot of things right here lately, and it feels like there was some real momentum. And then a couple of days ago, I saw the news flash across, and I'm like, well, we got to talk about this on Monday because it was a buzzkill for
Oh,
me.
yeah.
And I don't know what your actual physical reaction was because we were in separate locations when I sent you the news, but the Batman pushed back from October 2026, which had already been pushed back,
Yeah.
to now October 2027. And I just feel like trying to stay alive until then is going to be a difficult thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have to stay alive until the Batman Part 2, if at all possible, because this is a movie I must see. I really, really love the Batman with Robert Pattinson, and I would love a chance to see the Batman Part 2 in my lifetime. And I'm very concerned about the delay here. James Gunn says not to be concerned, though, that this is a common thing. And he started pointing out historically, to be fair, a 5-year gap or more is fairly common in sequels, saying 7 years between Alien and Aliens, 14 years between Incredibles, 7 years between the first two Terminators, 13 years between Avatars, 36 years between Top Guns, and of course, 6 years between Guardians Volume 2 and Volume 3. So I don't know. I don't like the whole let's go into the history of cinema to defend this move. I'd like to know more about what is happening behind the scenes there at DC that keeps pushing this project back. They've chalked it up to the script's just not ready.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a good reason to not start shooting a movie. Marvel doesn't really do that, and that's been something that James Gunn has just been adamant that he will stand by is that production will not start until you've got a finished, finalized script for the movie.
And I get that. And I know Matt Reeves, his process is one that's very deliberate. He's talked
Hmm.
about this. He does not force or rush his scripts. He really dives deep into the world and tries to make sure everything's fleshed out before he's puts his stamp of approval on it. And I like that. But you've heard the rumors, I'm sure that I've heard, that maybe Matt Reeves and James Gunn can't get on the same page about whether or not to incorporate Robert Pattinson's Batman into the new DCU, which is being spearheaded by Superman, played by David Cornsweet, who we've now seen in the official teaser trailer. And I feel very passionately that the Batman that we have currently, the 2022 Batman that the Penguin world lives around, needs to stay grounded in this reality of crime-ridden Gotham City with a bunch of different types of even, I would say, even types of political strife and drama. Um, I'd rather stay in that world where we're living in the grunge of Gotham than him be sitting there trying to determine with the Justice League what the best move is for the sake of humanity. I feel very passionate about that. How do you feel about it, Tyler?
I agree. You scared me for a second because I thought you were about to say that you think that Pattinson should be folded over into the new DCU.
No.
And I was gonna say I was gonna have some serious issues with you because I can't believe we have to get on here and debunk that nonsense again
Yeah.
because it just keeps coming up. That is not happening. If you believe it's happening, just stop, wake up. It won't happen. They're separate universes, and it needs to stay that way because I think the Robert Pattinson Batman does best when we're focusing on the corruption of Gotham and more grounded street level issues rather than Brainiac having a death ray pointed at the earth.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean,
But
can you imagine Robert Pattinson fighting that big kaiju we saw in the Superman trailer? That would be so stupid.
see, this is where the reporting comes in, though. You have people like Jeff Schneider who are out there at the end Schneider talking about how James Gunn wants Robert Pattinson's Batman in the DCU, and that Matt Reeves is putting up a wall saying that not so fast, my friend. And I don't know how much stock to buy into that reporting, but that's what's being painted narratively, and that was being painted narratively before the delay was announced.
It was, but also I mean,
You don't buy it.
if we were to buy it, you'd have to say, "All right, well, James Gunn has also been deliberately lying to the fans for the entirety of the DCU then, because that's been a question since day 1."
He
And
may have changed his mind. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think he
He
goes from, "There's no way these characters can exist in separate universes. We can have separate universes. We'll have the Elseworlds label, and we'll have the main DCU," to just a folding
This is
no,
what gives me hope,
it's not happening.
Tyler. This is what gives me hope, and that is that the brave and the bold, the more fantastical version of Batman that
Yeah.
is sort of associated with that Justice League approach is still happening, according to
Yes.
Gunn.
Yes.
And we haven't heard any casting announcement of who will be playing that version of Batman, but it does give me hope that that hasn't been scrapped and that is moving forward. And he's very passionate that's moving forward. But is there a chance that he ends up deciding for the brave and the bold, I'm going to have Robert Pattinson be that Batman too?
It wouldn't work narratively
I
because
agree.
this is a Batman that's very young in his career. We can't give him a sidekick now, but, whatever.
You know, James,
Fanboys are gonna believe what they wanna believe. I'm sure that people thought that they were still gonna have Henry Cavill back in the DCU. I'm sure people thought that, oh, maybe Jason Momoa's Aquaman will show up because that was a really good casting decision. We actually did get a Jason Momoa casting decision, but for Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, he will be playing Lobo.
yeah, that's not going to be confusing at all. Um, Look, I am concerned based on the results of what we know to be factual
Mhm.
that this has been delayed yet another year. And I am worried about if publicly we don't see Matt Reeves and James Gunn coming out on the same page talking about their plans together very soon, that the speculation will eventually continue to fester and boil over into more truth. And I'm worried about that. They need to narratively get a hold on this. And it's not what he's saying, what James Gunn is saying that bothers me. It's what he's not saying. I don't feel like I'm getting very firm answers on the future of this project, and I'm a little concerned. I'm a little worried that there may be a little bit of a DC civil war going on here between these two. But hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully
I
Matt Reeves is allowed to continue to to cook with the Batman project because so far he's 2 for 2 in the Batman and the Penguin series with overseeing this new Gotham and it translating well with audiences.
I mean, I think DC would be just fine. James Gunn is enough of a comic book nerd to understand that there needs to be a separation in tone. At least one would hope so, because if not, then that kind of flies in the face of his whole public persona as the manager
So you're
of
not the
DC
dog in the room
Studios.
right now going everything is fine with the room on fire. I mean, you're not playing that role, are you, right now?
I wouldn't say playing a role. I mean, it's just it's delayed because the script's not ready. I Maybe Matt Reeves is going a different direction. Maybe he's ironing out some firmer details. Maybe he's changing course a little bit because of the success of the Penguin, and maybe saying, "Oh, okay, people really like Oz. People really like Sophia Falcone. I need to really find a way to incorporate them in the story."
Or maybe he's being told we've got to rope this into the bigger DCU picture and go ahead and start writing those angles in there. And he goes, well, I'm going to need a lot more time to do that. Okay, we'll push it back a year. Or it could be that. I know
No.
we're not rooting for it, Tyler, but we've got to say that it's not an impossibility, especially with
It's not an impossibility, but it feels like it would fly again, like, it would just fly in the face of what James Gunn has been marketing this new DCU to be.
so
So,
let me ask.
that's why I'm
Let's
pumping the
play
brakes
this
on that.
angle of it, okay? Let's say James Gunn, the man himself, leading this DC creative charge,
Mhm.
he ends up coming out and saying Pattinson's going to be a part of the DCU. Let's say he makes that official. Do you start to then panic, sell your stock, become frustrated? Right now, you're like everything's cool because it's not happening. But what if they announce it is going to happen? Then
Oh.
how will your tone change that day?
Man, I will be selling all my stock in everything DC and probably additionally Warner Brothers because that would just show that from top to bottom, they don't know what people want. They don't know what IP people want to see. They don't know what takes on that IP people want to see. Um, because then you've got just what used to be two universes with separate tones
Hmm.
becoming one universe with a very, very, very muddy tone.
And that's exactly why we shifted gears from the Snyder to the Gunn phase here.
Yes,
Is because
exactly.
we wanted to get away from the whole there must be the team up, there must be Batman and Superman on the
Mhm.
screen together, there must be these interlinking deep comic book lore type events that comic book fans geek out about, but general audiences go, this isn't for me. When right now you have a Batman property that people are emotionally invested into that maybe aren't even comic book fans, maybe not even Batman fans, but they just like the drama of the world of Gotham right now and the intrigue of that politically corrupt ecosystem that Matt Reeves has helped to foster. And I want to see Matt Reeves being given the chance to see his vision through before James Gunn potentially says, all right, all of this has to live within under the same umbrella. I think that would be a giant mistake. But you know that scene with the Riddler where he's like, "This is not how this was supposed to go."
Yes.
That was me when I saw the news this past
You're just
weekend.
running around screaming like, "Oh no!
Yeah. No,
No!"
no. I am disappointed by this news, but I do hope that the next one is a absolute banger. I'm not selling stock in Reeves and his ability to produce a script of quality. I just don't I don't know if I'm being impatient or if I'm losing confidence. I can't tell which one it is.
I think for me, it's patience because there's nothing to make me lose confidence in it. Like he hasn't built a full universe yet. That is objectively true. He's only got a movie and a series under his belt. But I like them so much. I just really like the smell of what he's cooking, and I just kind of want to let him, just let him perfect the meal.
Sure.
Let's wait until we got it plated in
When
front of me
when we
and
look
judge.
back at the DCEU and some missteps that they made, I really do think they made a mistake.
Some.
Well, they made a bunch, but I do think they made a giant mistake not producing a Man of Steel 2 before Batman
Okay.
v
Oh
Superman.
yeah.
Like, give us more of that character and let's sort of flesh out the Henry Cavill version of Superman rather than just another origin story, which was Man of Steel. I would have liked to have seen a Man of Steel 2, and I would have liked to have seen a solo Ben Affleck Batman movie.
Yes. The first time we saw Batman in that universe was fighting Superman,
Right.
and it just made it where they couldn't deliver on all those little teases that the DCEU like to do and give fans hope for the future on all the different stories that could be told. Um, we just never got a chance to get to know Batfleck.
Well, I'll say this as well. It felt like Marvel started to build a world that wasn't reliant on DC's successes, if that makes any sense.
Hmm.
But it felt like DC, every time you go see one of their movies, they were very much playing catch up to Marvel.
Yes,
And that was like
they were
clear.
trying to already they were trying to speed it up and get past the Avengers Part 1 when they had only really had Iron Man 1
Right.
and they hadn't made Thor and Captain America and all the others yet.
They wanted to build the roof and they hadn't yet established the foundation.
Yes.
And it was a big misstep by DC of like, we've got to hurry, we've got to go, oh, we'll just tease this now and pay it off later.
They were speed running the entire cinematic
Yeah,
universe. They were trying to tease stuff that would pay off
right.
3, 4 movies later when there wasn't even a script or a director attached to the project. It's just like we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
They'd also skip chapters that fans would have loved to have seen.
Yes.
Like, I think me and you have both talked about this, the Jason Todd Robbins bit,
Yes,
right?
I
With the
remember
crowbar.
just geeking about that because I remember saying, "Yes, they're finally gonna do Damian Wayne, or not Damian Wayne, Jason Todd, Red Hood on screen," and then it just never paid off into anything. And now we're having to wait until I don't even think that one will have Damian Wayne. The Dynamic Duo movie. That's not Damian Wayne, is
It's
it?
not,
Uh, or not Jason Todd. It is Damian Wayne.
right. The Brave New World with, it's James Gunn's favorite version of Robin in that.
Yes.
But I don't remember who. I don't remember exactly who it is. There's so many different Robins, it can be tough to keep up with.
Yeah, there's 5.
There's 5 Robins, so, you'll figure it out for sure, but where do you guys stand on the delay for the Batman Part 2?
Dick
Be
Grayson and Jason Todd,
Okay,
and it'll be puppets.
it's not gonna be puppets.
No, wait, you don't know about this?
Wait, hold on, I'm talking about Brave New World, what are you talking about?
Right? Oh, you mean Brave and the Bold?
Brave and the Bold, that's what I
Yeah,
mean, yeah.
Brave New World is Captain America.
Sorry, what are you talking about?
Dynamic Duo.
Oh, I don't know anything about this. Is this like a
Uh,
HBO series or something?
no, it's officially like DC Studios, but it's gonna be the story of Dick Grayson and Jason Todd, but told with like marionettes.
Okay, never mind.
It's considered part of the Matt Reeves Batman universe, according to Google AI.
Okay. Well, I forget all of this. Now I'm selling all my stock. No, I'm kidding all about that. The last time I saw marionettes on the screen was,
Team America World Police.
no, that is not correct. It was A Quiet Place Day One.
Oh yeah.
Had that lengthy series there. We're about to do our most disappointing movies of 2024 video, where these are the films that broke our heart the most. And I will say A Quiet Place Day One was very close to making my list
It's close to
because
mine too.
I was very excited about that movie and ended up very much disliking it. But it did not make my list. You'll have to stick around for more Meltdown content to see exactly what 6 films disappointed me the very most. But Anyway, the news once again about the Batman Part 2 being pushed is a major disappointment. And I don't know how else to stomach it other than I hope that there's some good mojo coming out from DC Studios with Matt Reeves and James Gunn aligned and coming out together as a force because we need to see that soon.
Hmm. Have you seen Creature Commandos yet?
I haven't.
I haven't gotten the chance to either.
I've heard things.
I've heard good things, and I've also heard that there's setups for the Superman movie in it.
Yeah.
It references like the country that's at war in the Superman trailer.
Oh, okay. Well, I haven't checked that out. I really want them to get the big pieces right, and that's really what I care about the most. I'm just going to be completely transparent. I want them to get the big major pieces of this right. And you got to get Batman right, and you got to get Superman right. And then from there on, they can start to fill out the roster. But if they don't get Batman and Superman right, which is where I'm at right now, then there's no reason to invest again emotionally and become crippled by this whole thing. So that's my take. A little bit coarse, but very true.
What's your take on the Guy Gardner Green Lantern?
I had no problem with it from what I've seen so far. Yeah, the haircut's bad, but I mean that's comic accurate.
Yeah, it is. Man, it looks dumb on screen.
It does, but I think it's gonna play perfectly. It's gonna be some comic relief and he's supposed to be sort of this overconfident character that tries to appear like he's a complete badass, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it all plays out. But yeah, I got no problem with it.
Okay, I've seen a lot of hate for that design.
Sure. Yeah. There's a lot of hate all the way around. It's amazing how many things get hated on only to then have the same group of people defend them until the death like 10 years later when they try to reboot. So anyway, that's where we're at there with the current state of DC. I want to get to our meltdown countdown today, and these are the 6 things I watched over the past 6 days. I went on a binge of all sorts of different types of content, and I want to share my thoughts on all of these. A lot of these, Tyler, you have seen. So,
I did go to the movies over the weekend and see a lot.
yes. So I'm going to start with number 6. This is a movie that I've needed to catch up on for a while and finally put away all my excuses and sat down and consumed this. And it was Smile 2.
Oh, you finally saw it. What'd you think?
Finally saw Smile 2. I thought Naomi Scott in this
Yes.
was tremendous.
Amazing.
She is incredible. We've got a Smile 2 poster up there on the wall behind Tyler. I don't know if anybody can see it, but I can. And she is tremendous as Sky Riley. And I thought that she was fantastic. But there was not a second character in this entire production that I gave a damn about.
No, no, I did like Ray Nicholson in the movie.
Jack Nicholson's son,
Yes.
who has a perfect smile for this type of movie, but is basically there because he's Jack Nicholson's son,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he's got
he's there because he's Jack Nicholson's son and he can do the smile from The Shining.
yeah. But Smile 2, I don't like this movie. Yeah, I don't like this movie. I love the performance, Tyler. I'm so sorry to deflate you. Maybe I'm just in a cranky mood here. Bah humbug after the holidays. I don't know why. I had a great holiday. I hope you did too, Tyler. I don't understand the rules of this horror scenario anymore. They don't track from movie 1 to movie 2 of like how the thing gets passed on, and I just
I thought it did. If you see it happen, it passes on. It passed from
okay,
cop guy to drug dealer
right. But drug
to
dealer, I don't think drug dealers saw it happen. Is what I'm saying.
yeah, he did. It was at the beginning of the movie.
I know he's there, but I don't think he actually saw this character. I mean, we can nerd out about this either on here or off of here, but if you haven't seen Smile 2, slight spoilers here. But the guy at the end of the first one that it gets passed to, this demon curse gets passed to,
Mhm.
he ends up in this basically this Russian trap house with these 2 bad guys that he's trying to pass it on to them because he feels like, okay, well, at least I'm going to give this curse to somebody awful
Right.
and they'll have it. And maybe he's even thinking that he can get away scot free and he doesn't have to die. I don't know. Once again, I don't understand his plan. What's his plan?
Th
Doesn't make any
that's what
sense.
I thought his plan was, to make one, drug supplier look at the other drug supplier dying.
But how would that pass it along if that drug supplier doesn't have the curse? See what I'm saying? Like it doesn't
Wait,
make sense.
I think I
And then you have the once again, the guy runs out. It's in the marketing, right? He runs out and then the truck
He gets
comes.
yeah.
The drug dealer's in the house. He doesn't even see it. So I'm wondering, like, how in the
Maybe I'm confused on the rules of Smile then.
yeah,
Um,
I don't think it tracks, is what I'm saying.
I thought you just had to like the person afflicted with the curse had to like kill somebody and
I thought it was
whoever
themself. They had to end up succumbing to the curse in front of someone else.
I think that was the other way. I think the other way out is if you kill somebody and then the
Either way,
witness
this
gets it.
conversation proves that we are on different pages with how this all works. And if it's not clear, that's the problem that I'm trying to point out. I think we've made that clear. I hated the number of jump scares in this. I mean, it's like
Oh,
an ungodly amount of jump scares. And I don't mean that they like scared me and I was like, "Oh no, not again."
did it feel cheap to you?
Yeah.
Oh, dang it. It felt the opposite to me when I walked out. That was like the number one selling point I had in my little review was they all felt earned.
No. No. I hated the number of there's a lot of stretch in the movie where it's false sequences that aren't actually real, aren't actually taking place. And I'm talking about lengthy
Oh
parts of the
yeah.
movie where it's like, "Oh, none of that really happened."
Yeah, yeah, that
What?
does happen.
But I mean, like, it's not even it's not even done in a clever way of like waking up or something. It's like it just oh, that whole 15-minute
Yeah,
stretch.
they just show you a whole sequence and then say, "Oh, yeah, never
What?
mind."
And it did that multiple times
It did.
to the point where I'm like, I no, you don't get away with this. This is a crime. The movie had all the right ingredients and it threw them in a nasty stew and it felt like it came out as slop to me. My sister had warned me and said that the film was disgusting. And I dismissed her because I'm like, of course it's disgusting. It's a horror movie. You know, Smile was kind of disgusting in a couple different ways. I was like, that's not a big, but I understand now what she was really trying to say. It's like, it's like frustratingly, okay, more of this. You know, I don't know. It felt unearned, a lot of the disgust that I had for this film. I don't like this movie, Tyler. You could cut 40 minutes from this movie easily and it make a better production. Like, and I'm normally the type of person that doesn't feel like you have to trim down a total runtime for it to be effective. It would have been a lot better. There's some deeper themes in there that are completely undone by shock factor. The Substance is a much better film, in my opinion. Very
Sure.
similar in a lot of different tones. I thought Smile 1 was way more enjoyable. I'm in the minority. I think most people enjoy Smile 2. I thought Smile 1 was better, but I think the marketing for both of these films, they give way too much away to where you can predict beats in the story by what you see in the trailers. So, anyway, Smile 2, I was not a fan. It was an endurance test that I do not want to go back on. And what will it mean for Smile 3? We'll see. I'll end up seeing it, but I'm selling my stock in the
I
Smile
think that
franchise.
the end of Smile 2 sets up what Smile 3 will be.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a very predictable ending too.
Yeah,
I mean, that's fine. But
and, like, you can kinda get that just based off of, well, the main character who ends up with the smile curse.
yeah,
But,
I didn't like it. I didn't like it hardly at all. Okay, gonna move on to this. This may be a bigger shock to you. Another thing,
please don't make us fight on another horror movie.
I'm not gonna have us fight. The Wild Robot.
Oh, okay. Yeah, what'd you think?
I'm a parent. It's a consuming part of my identity. This film has been promoted as the parent cry fest of the year. So I kind of already knew that going in.
Mhm.
There are definitely a few moments that are emotional and relatable. But when it comes to best animated film of the year, I can't get behind The Wild Robot.
Said can't?
Can't.
What would you champion instead? Inside Out?
Inside Out 2, I would go with over The Wild Robot. But I haven't seen everything. You've seen Memoirs of a Snail, right?
Yeah, yeah, that one, no, it's just too weird.
What's the best
Um,
animated movie you've seen this year?
so as far as Western works,
Yes.
Wild Robot, but I did see a new anime movie from the creator of Chainsaw Man called Look Back, and that is my favorite animated movie of the year.
Okay. I found Inside Out 2 to be way more emotional than The Wild Robot. No pun intended. The art design, I think, in The Wild Robot is good. I
Oh
think
yeah, it looks great.
looks really good. For the most part, though, I hate in movies the trope of the harmless, lovable robot trying to figure out our world. Like
Yeah,
Wall-E.
I think they're trying to set us up. You know what I mean?
Right. I've seen enough bad
Yeah,
robot movies.
yeah. It's like, no, no, no. You can trust the robots. Don't worry,
Yeah,
they're your friends.
no, these are good ones, and no thanks. I think I'm the only person I know that doesn't love this movie. But the Wild Robot, I think it's overrated. I think it's overhyped, overrated. But I'm glad as many people had as an emotional reaction as they did to the Wild Robot. But for me,
See, my strongest reaction to the wild robot was probably in the beginning of the movie where she just chucks that raccoon into the ocean.
that is correct.
I was cheering about that part.
Yeah, I know you're anti-raccoon based on your Raccoon City apartment situation, and we've heard about your warfare that you've had with the raccoons,
Oh
so I can
yeah,
understand why that was cathartic for you, but I didn't
man,
love it.
they got launched.
Another thing I watched this weekend or this past week, the documentary Music by John Williams. So this is a documentary that's on Disney Plus about the undisputed greatest film composer of all time, John Williams. The Superman trailer got me motivated to sort of finally watch this one, sit down and give it some time. It's good, it's nostalgic, but it's almost impossible to make a film about the scores that's more impactful than just watching the films with those scores in them. Like emotionally, it, I guess I just would rather watch Superman than watch a documentary that features basically his greatest hits, John Williams, and talk a little bit about each one without really giving. You could make a documentary series about each score. Like, I think it would have worked better as a television series where you really go into each John Williams score because each one of them are worthy of their own runtime. I feel like an hour an episode, talking about the different impacts that he had. The brilliance of Williams is undisputed. The film gets as close as it can, pulling back the curtain on that brilliance, but it still feels like there's something missing from documenting his winning formula. It's basically John Williams going, "Yeah, I went in a room and I wrote it, and it was awesome." Okay, what about the next one? Yeah, I wrote that one here on this piano, and it was awesome. Okay, what about, when you were hired for Harry Potter? How did you come up with, well, I just started, they wanted something magical. I didn't know anything about Harry Potter. I just started sort of Dumbledoring around, and next thing I know, I made magic again. And it's like, I'm convinced John Williams is a robot because there's no way that one human can create as much magic as he's created and it be legit. There's some sort of hidden thing. He's got
He's got a
somebody.
trick or something. He's got a method, something. Mm,
Anyway,
ancient knowledge.
the documentary is something I would recommend, but mildly. It's not my favorite documentary of the year. It's still Christopher Reeve. Um, that's the Christopher Reeve story, Superman. I think John Williams and his music is super impactful. And as a film nerd, I really liked going down those sort of memories of all the things that he's composed. And every single time you're like, well, okay, he's got a really good 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like the number keeps growing. Like he's so good at what he does. And it's really just a bunch of celebrities, a bunch of artists on screen geeking out over how great John Williams is the entire runtime. And it's the truth. Can't be disputed, but I guess I wanted just a little bit more. It goes into his background and all that, but I wanted more about the actual production of each score for some reason. I don't know. It was good, but it wasn't like an all-timer. Okay. Another thing I watched. We're at the number 3 spot. And this is a film that I didn't even know if I want to talk about, but it's Baby Girl with Nicole Kidman. Okay?
Okay. First question.
Yep.
Did they play the Nicole Kidman
Nope.
AMC ad? They didn't play it for me either.
Right. That's by choice.
Yeah, I figured that.
So I went in I didn't know, but I went in I was going to be very alert on whether or not they played the Nicole Kidman AMC ad before the movie because I felt like it would be a mistake to do that. And after having seen the opening sequence of Baby Girl, yes, would have been a
Yeah,
giant mistake.
yeah.
So I think, she may have had it even in her contract when she shot this thing years ago of like, if it's a Nicole Kidman film, you don't play this. Or maybe it's an AMC thing. I don't know. But either way, they didn't play the
I don't
AMC
think
ad.
it's either of those. I think it's a baby girl thing.
But I'll tell you this. So I dropped my pen. I went
Your
to go
pen is
see.
gone.
It's all right. It's gone forever. I went to go see Baby Girl, and then I went to the movies again the next day, and the AMC ad did play in front of that movie, and it was a jarring experience for me. Like Baby Girl has changed me in a certain way, of like, yeah, it's a jarring thing. While I'm watching it, I go, I don't think I can review this with Tyler. Like, I don't think that I can sit across from him and take this seriously enough. In a year full of weird movies, this one's right up there with being one of the
Yeah.
weirder movies.
Yeah.
Like, it's not offensively weird. It's just, it's an uncomfortable weird. Baby Girl is. Anything you want to add, Tyler?
I watched it and I just thought, why am I watching
Yeah.
this? I don't find this to be a particularly enjoyable movie, and I'm kind of just sitting here watching, Nicole Kidman do her thing, and
Thank you for giving me
it's
that
a
version.
packed house. There's not an empty seat in the theater
Yeah.
when I went to see it. Just a very weird
It's a weird,
experience,
it's a
and
weird con-
once you watch that movie for about 2 minutes, you understand exactly why the AMC ad did not play
yeah.
before it.
It's a weird communal experience. And you are
Mhm.
looking around at the people around you like you feel ashamed that you
I
somehow.
was worried about someone having, like, a Love Lies Bleeding experience, if you remember that story.
It's possible. I do remember that story. I didn't see anybody in there with a popcorn bucket, so that eliminated half of the problems. But there's a fine line between sexy and goofy, and this one gets real goofy at times.
Oh, yeah.
Now, once again, I think we have the same rating on this. By the way, you gave this a 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah.
I gave this a 3.5 out of 5. So it's not like it's a garbage movie.
It's just fine,
It's
and it's got a good Nicole Kidman performance for what it's worth, and I really like, Antonio Banderas in this movie.
Antonio Banderas. I thought was the standout of the film, really, and I just think that his character was kind of muted at certain points. But when he's allowed to go, man, Antonio Banderas is really strong in this. It does feel at times more comedic than dramatic, and I don't know if it was just the audience that I was with felt so uncomfortable they started laughing at
M
certain
No,
points.
mine was laughing the entire movie.
Okay. It's weird. It's goofy, it's weird. It's supposed to be sensual, and I don't think they're playing it for laughs. Like, I don't think the
No.
movie's playing it for laughs. I think maybe they know audiences will be uncomfortable and they'll have to start to giggle a little bit, like a "Hee," but this was like full on laughter at points. And I don't think it's been marketed that way of like the comedy of the year. And I think that
No, but when you're sitting in a packed theater and you see Nicole Kidman, Hawk Tuah, you just you gotta laugh
Tyler,
because it's so ridiculous.
Tyler, I was not prepared for that.
Well, I wasn't prepared for what I watched, the other day either.
Do we have the ability to go to a commercial while I get myself back together here? No. Here's what I will say. Um, that's not a good. It's not a good segue to a dental ad. But you know what?
Just thinking the same
I'm
thing.
gonna do it anyway. Okay, because they have the little suction spit things that they allow at Alabama Dental Associates to make sure that you're all cleaned out there, and you may be wide open there, ready for business. And next thing you know, you got a little spittle accumulating, and you need to go ahead and get that taken care of. We encourage you to reach out to the dental team that we trust most, located on Grants Mill Road. Dr. Jeff, Dr. Brian, and Dr. Nolan over at Alabama Dental Associates. They provide all sorts of services when it comes to staying on top of your dental health. Whether you have a nagging toothache or you need to get on top of those regular cleanings, they're there for you. They're accepting new patients now and can help you feel at ease about all of your upcoming dental procedures. For more information or to make an appointment, call them 205 956 8977 or visit alabamadental.com where they look forward to seeing you. But yeah, not the best transition there to talking about Alabama Dental, but it works. Some people hate this movie. I mean, they despise this thing. The number of walkouts I've heard reported from this
Really?
movie. Oh yeah. I didn't hate this movie. I do think the only character motivation that is made crystal clear in this is Nicole Kidman. I feel like every other character, you're wondering why it is they're doing what they're doing. Like, there's times in the movie where I'm like, well, why does that character feel that way and want to stay in this situation? Or why does that character have this goal or what? And I, really the only person that made sense to me on the screen as acting in any sort of way that lined up with what we started to learn about them was Nicole Kidman's character in this. Some of the scenes drag out a bit much, and they're a little bit there's too much there. Just a little bit of a um, cutting some of those scenes I think would have been stronger. And
So you mentioned the motivation. What was the intern's motivation for the entire movie?
that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like we
Because after, like, I don't know, the first act, it just gets to where just seems more trouble than it's worth
yep,
for
yep.
him and most definitely for Nicole Kidman, but that's plot of the movie.
There are moments in this movie where the story can turn into something really sinister, or it can turn into something that takes it on a completely different path. And it never really turns. It just sort of stays exactly what the marketing tells you it's going to be.
I
And
mean,
there's no
on one hand,
deeper layers.
yeah, on one hand, props to them for not feeling the need to subvert expectations halfway through with something that makes no sense, like a trap or something like that. But on the other hand, it just kind of you're just watching an affair play out, and that's about it.
Yeah. It's not a great I think Unfaithful from 2002, a movie I've talked about a lot with this, is a much better experience with Richard Gere and Diane Lane, and I think that that's the better affair movie. Unfaithful from 2002, check that out. But this is the one thing, it's not the movie's fault, it's my fault. But I couldn't stop hearing Puss in Boots when Antonio Banderas would talk in the movie. Oh, yes, it is me. I couldn't help but hear that character,
Yeah.
and I just, for some reason
When he fights at the end, he should have said, "Fear me if you dare."
exactly, 100%. Okay, I'm gonna move on to another thing I watched here. This is one that I don't think you've seen, Tyler,
Oh, okay.
but it's on Netflix, and I've been meaning to get around to it for a long time, and I finally got through it, and it is Hitman, starring Glenn Powell on Netflix.
I have not seen this.
If you're looking, try to up your movie numbers of 2024, you do have a couple more options. Like when the clock strikes midnight on New Year's Day, technically, you don't have to say that your 2024 cinematic journey is over because technically you have a couple more movies coming out in January that are 2024 movies that you'll have access to. You could still see Hitman and add it to your list because I recommend it. I think it's good. Glenn Powell plays a very dry and introverted college professor that starts taking up side work with the police department as a tech guy until he gets to substitute as an undercover hitman. And he's very good in this, very funny. He has to play a lot of different roles, and his acting chops are put on full display. Glenn Powell's the real deal. And Hitman is another great sort of tool in his arsenal cinematically of what he can do. It's a great blend of romance, tenseness, warmth, and wit. I really like Hitman from 2024 on Netflix. And these are two Netflix movies that are in my top 20 of the year, maybe, in what I saw with Hitman and what I saw before the big break, which is Carry On. And so if you maybe you didn't log into Netflix for a while, you watch Carry On and you're like, man, I'd love another good Netflix movie. If you missed Hitman, it's really good. Check it out. It's a great blend of funny, intentionally funny, and like dramatic. It's a good blend of both. And I really, really enjoyed it. So Hitman with Glenn Powell, Tyler. Maybe check it out. If it had been released theatrically, you already seen it.
I would have. I would have. Um, Not gonna be trying to up my numbers too much, considering we have one more day after today to have my 2024 movies in, with the exception of the stuff that is limited release. So I'll be pumping the brakes for 2024. I'm at 133. I wanted to hit 150. Started watching Roadhouse the other night at about 1 or 2 in the morning, and I was about half an hour in, and I just said, "There's no way I'm hitting 150. I'm good. 133 is plenty."
I think once again, you've put it on yourself to accomplish you wanted 100. And I said I
Yes.
think you can get to 150, so I take a lot of the blame. But if you had watched more streaming movies this year, you would have gotten there
Oh
for
yeah,
sure.
for sure.
But you are, and I love this because I'm the same way, much less likely to watch a movie on streaming than you are to go to the theater. Now, these days, it's reversed. Why is everybody talking about Red One now? It's because it's available to hit play on Amazon Prime. And that's why everybody's talking about Red One now. It's not because it's a good movie. And the only reason they're hitting play on it.
According to some people, it is. According to Amazon, 90 bajillion people watched it and loved it and said it was the greatest thing ever made.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm
Right.
tired of this movie.
You're not one that typically will champion a streaming movie over a theatrical movie. And I love that about you because I'm the same way. But there's some gems out there. Carry On was one of them.
Carry On was
You
great.
enjoyed it. Hitman is a gem. I'm telling you, it's good. Okay, let's move on to my number one on the 6 things I watched over the past 6 days that I've got to talk about because I needed to talk about all these. It was very tough not to pick up the phone and just talk with Tyler directly about all these and save it for the show. It's very difficult. Nosferatu, my movie I have to talk about the most here. It's a faithful adaptation. If you're not a fan of the source material, you are not going to be a fan of this movie
I would agree with that.
because it is like very much we're going to play it straight and we're going to deliver you the hits and we're going to give you exactly what we promise we're going to give you. And so if you hate the idea of the movie before going to see it, the movie's not going to change your mind.
Yeah, if you haven't read or watched the original Bram Stoker's Dracula or the original Nosferatu, you might be a little lost because they don't do a whole lot of explaining
Yeah.
until towards the end of the movie with Willem Dafoe's character. But if you're familiar with the source material, this is exactly what you wanted.
You may want to dabble in those waters before you go see Nosferatu in theaters just to see if you kind of like the vibe
Yeah.
of that gothic horror 19th century sort of tale. Now, I had made a little bit of a mistake of watching Muppet Christmas Carol before going to see this, and I was convinced that it was going to in those city streets, it looked the exact same at
It does
times,
look similar.
and I was convinced that Muppets were gonna pop out. And you know that challenge of if you could
It's
replace
Count Von Count.
if you could replace all the different characters in a movie except for one human character to be in it, but all the rest are Muppets. You've heard that challenge, right?
Yes, yeah.
For me, it is officially Nosferatu, but I'm keeping Willem Dafoe.
Yes. That's the correct answer.
All the rest are Muppets, and I think it works perfect. But anyway, I officially what I've learned
You,
about
you got Thomas and Ellen as a Kermit and Miss Piggy.
absolutely,
I mean, Count Orlok is the Count. I mean, it writes itself.
it does. It's perfect. Like the mad um, real estate broker is played by Animal for some reason. I don't know why. He just is. I just think it works. I think it works in a lot of different ways. But like,
Fozzie Bear would be Friedrich Harding.
okay, yeah, no, I can see that. I think that's a movie adaptation I want to see next. But it's kind of interesting because Robert Eggers, who did Nosferatu here,
Oh
he
yeah.
he's doing Labyrinth next.
Yes, he is.
I am all in on that. I love Labyrinth. Now, is it going to be a remake or is it going to be a sequel? I don't know.
He has said it's a remake or reboot.
Okay, so it
So
is.
yeah, they're remaking the original story, and he's also announced that he has signed Willem Dafoe on for 2 more films.
Oh, I'm not
No,
shocked by that at
not
all.
no word on which films they will be because he's got I think 3 or 4 more in the works. But there's a chance we get Willem Dafoe as Hoggle.
No way. Do they keep the same
Do
songs?
you want him to be the Goblin King?
No.
Who do you want him to be in Labyrinth?
I don't know. He could voice a character,
Well,
right?
that's what I'm saying.
Didymus. He could voice him.
I'll take that.
It would work. But anyway, this is a Labyrinth love affair now. But are they keeping the same songs? I have so many questions
Yes.
about this Labyrinth movie. I'm assuming a 2026 release potentially. I don't know. I have so many questions about the
Who
Labyrinth
would
movie.
they get to play Jennifer Connelly's role? Is it so many questions? Who
I don't-
plays David Bowie's role? That's the real question.
That is the real question. I have no idea, but I can see them casting like an Austin Butler or something in that role and being like, oh, hey, actually it'll work, but I don't know. We'll see. I have a lot of questions about Labyrinth, but this isn't about Labyrinth. This is about Nosferatu. And I can tell you that Lily Rose Depp,
Phenomenal.
tremendous in this movie.
Oh my gosh, stellar.
Like, honestly, tell me this. Will the genre of the film keep her from getting a Best
Yes.
Actress nom?
Yes. I think it could. But
It's ridiculous.
man, for
She's good.
if you go and see the movie, you will see the best actress performance in it. And I mean, it it's a standout in a cast that is already elite talent.
Yeah.
You know, you've already got Willem Dafoe, you've already got Nicholas Hoult, you've already got Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Stop right there. I'm officially selling all my stock on Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Really, I liked him in this movie.
He brings it down, man. He brings it down for me. Like, I don't like anything that he does on screen. I figured that out now. I skipped Craven the Hunter. So can you imagine me sitting through Craven the Hunter and my feelings I would have about that?
Oh, well, that wasn't even a movie.
I skipped that. Fall Guy, he was
He
horrendous.
was the worst part of Fall Guy.
Okay, horrendous in that movie. I didn't like Bullet Train like a lot of other people did. I mean, they just
I
absolutely
haven't
lost their
gotten
mind
into
over
that
Bullet
one.
Train. But Kick Ass is probably the only thing I like him in. And that was the first thing I saw him in, from what I remember. So,
What about Kick-Ass 2?
yeah, it's fine. I mean, he was fine. You know, Kick Ass 1 was better.
I agree.
But I don't like Aaron Taylor Johnson. I hope he's not cast as the next James Bond. That's going to be really
No
difficult for me.
chance.
I don't think he will be because he was the front runner. The Sun had reported that he had locked up Bond and it was a done deal. And then a week goes by, 2 weeks go by, a month goes by, and now it's like, well, we don't have a Bond. We don't know who we're going to go with. But they don't like Aaron Taylor Johnson either. For me, he brings down the production here.
Do
I
you
think
think
he,
they'll go with a younger Bond because they mentioned, and this is a little bit of internal beef with Amazon MGM on how they're building out James Bond because there was word of doing a bunch of spin-offs and little mini series about like M and Q and young James Bond and just building out that universe. And then there's been some backlash to that within Amazon.
yeah, from what I've heard, male, mid 30s is what they're going for. Maybe young to mid 30s,
Okay,
but a younger Bond that can be Bond for a decade.
gotcha.
That it doesn't matter if what he looks like, but it will be a male, from what I've heard. And they're open to the idea. They don't really have a script. I mean, they're in pre-production still. And they've had a lot of time since No Time to Die to kind of figure out where they're going next. So, but if Aaron Taylor Johnson's not the guy, I'll be thrilled because I don't like him. I thought he was the weakest part of this production, and I once again he's completely overshadowed, in my opinion, by Nicholas Hoult and by Lily Rose Depp. Some people had talked about Willem Dafoe being the weak link in this movie. I don't agree with that.
I
That
don't
was
agree
great,
with that.
and I don't know his name, Tyler, but it has the same guy from the first Omen in this movie playing the doctor. Right?
Yes.
You know who I'm talking about? The
Yeah.
guy with the deep.
Was that Ralph Ineson?
Is that his name?
I might be.
You're probably right, but I don't know for sure. Um, but he's tremendous in these sort of occult movies. Like he's got a great searing voice that works out really, really well. So
Dr. Wilhelm Seaver. Dr.
yes,
Seaver? Yeah, it's Ralph Ineson.
okay. Thought it was Alan Thicke for a second. Dr. Seaver report. Okay, that's a Growing Pains reference. Anyway,
What?
point I'm getting to is the movie. If you look at it visually, almost every frame of this movie is beautiful. Almost every frame. I mean, it's like
Love the
watching a.
composition.
Oh gosh, it's
Perfect.
it's it's shot so beautifully. I would have loved subtitles. I did find
Yeah.
myself because he goes with the witch method of I'm gonna like play this to where we're gonna speak this old English talk and like you're gonna have to kind of keep up with things. But I'd love to watch this with subtitles. But if you have not seen Nosferatu and you have any interest at all in vampire gothic 19th century movies, this thing cooks. I mean, it's really good. It lives up to the hype for me.
I mean, it's
It's
exceeded my
it's a
expectations.
little bit repetitive and a little bit overindulgent and a little bit of a stress test on the audience if you're a general moviegoer.
Yeah, but I would also argue that's just kind of Robert Eggers' style is
Mhm.
making these really dreadful atmospheric horror movies. And I mean, even though this didn't really show as much as far as like, you know, like a Terrifier 3
Yeah,
or
not
some
even close.
or just your standard slasher movie. I felt legitimately like scared and anxious throughout this movie.
Oh,
It's just I saw it in Prime and I think the sound really
oh,
helped and I was just sitting there gripping my armrests,
yeah.
just
It's immersive.
completely engaged. It is a dreadful feeling.
It is. I wouldn't say I was not scared during. Right, it wasn't scary to me. It's intense,
Mhm.
but it's not like scary, scary. It's more like just. It really feels like art is coming alive in this. I don't
Yeah.
know how else to
It
describe it, but
feels like you're getting covered up by the big Nosferatu hand while you're watching it. You're just
yeah,
enveloped in darkness the
yeah.
whole movie.
Y- If you're in the right mindset, it's a great movie experience. And there's a lot of people that thought this maybe wouldn't work on Christmas, coming out around the Christmas time. Like, who wants to go see Nosferatu around Christmas? A lot of people did. I mean, it made what, $40 million over the 5 days or whatever. It's a
It
great number.
crushed its projections. Um, I had trouble actually getting a showtime. So I've seen it twice now. Uh
Oh, you went a second time?
I did.
That's
I did.
awesome.
I did. And I might go again just because this might be my new Dune Part 2. I loved this movie. It's an absolute masterpiece, but like all of the showtimes were selling out. I ended up going to a prime showtime at like 10:30, and still a decent amount of people for it being a late addition to
Yeah.
tickets you could even buy and it also being so late.
Is the benefit of the holiday time with not nearly as many people having those responsibilities. Maybe around this time they're able to shelve some of those, but yeah, it was a great play. It's smart. Focus Features, I believe, put this
Yes.
out. Really big win for a smaller studio looking to try to play with the big dogs, and is the best thing I saw over the past 6 days. Like, and
One of the best things I've seen this year.
it promises to be something. And if you already hate that something before seeing it, of course you're going to hate it. Like, that's my thing, right?
Mhm.
If you're just like predisposed to not like this type of stuff, you're going to hate it. But if you give this thing a chance, I just think it is a beautiful film that I'm very tempted to go see a second time. I'm very tempted.
Do it. If you can make it, they're starting to add showtimes in Prime, and they usually do this when stuff starts selling out, like Nosferatu's been selling out. Um, it's late at night, and there's only one showtime a day, but it is so worth it.
Do you have the ability to show the popcorn bucket, by the way, here in studio? Do we have
Yeah, let
that?
me just cut to the camera. You can see Mr. Culver's Curdsworth sitting atop the Nosferatu sarcophagus.
Yes, which is actually, we have determined, the best popcorn bucket when it comes to accessibility to the actual popcorn that exists.
Yeah, so when I got this one, I asked for no popcorn. They chose to give it to me with popcorn anyway. So I ate popcorn out of it because I'm not just gonna let a whole large popcorn go to waste. And actually not that bad. I wish the lid had a hinge so you don't have to remove the entire lid and sit it to the side.
Yeah,
But other than that, pretty convenient.
yeah.
You're just eating it out of a box instead of a bowl.
At some point, I'm gonna give you a task of a meltdown countdown where you are going to do your 5 favorite popcorn buckets. You're going to list them, I should
Okay.
say.
Okay, I thought you were gonna go with 5 popcorn buckets you'd actually use, and I was gonna say, well, the Warhammer is dead
The
last.
Warhammer makes no sense at all, and that's gonna poke somebody's eye out. I hate to sound like a Christmas story because I know you hate a Christmas story, but
I
that's
do.
gonna poke somebody's eye out for sure. All right, so Nosferatu, we will have a spoiler review out very soon talking about our love affair with this film over the holiday season, but I just I consumed a lot of stuff and it re-energized me for 2025. Like, I'm really pumped to get into this year with all of our reviews, out of the theater reactions, our in-studio spoiler reviews, our discussions here on the live show. There's so much great content, hopefully, that's coming out in 2025. We made our list of my most anticipated movies of 2025. I listed 10. Tyler came up with his 10. There's a little bit of crossover, but watch both of those, contrast and compare. There's a lot of different genres that are going to have their time in the sun. in 2025. So look forward to that. There's something in the spoiler review we've got to get into, and that is the look of the title character. We got to get into that in the spoiler review, and we will do that.
Oh yeah,
But that's going to be a big
sweet
conversation
mustache.
there for sure. And that's going to do it for us here on the Meltdown. We appreciate our title sponsor. That is MyBookie at mybookie.ag. You can bet on absolutely anything, anywhere, anytime there with MyBookie. Enhance bowl season, enhance your college football playoff experience there with mybookie.ag. Plenty of opportunities to cash out and win or let it ride at MyBookie. Make sure you join the MyBookie family using that promo code next round for a first time deposit bonus there. Bet and play absolutely anything, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie. I'd love to get a chat check in here before we end the show today. EG is on vacation. She'll be joining us back later this week. We will be tomorrow doing a live show talking about what our 10 favorite movies of the year are. I'm going to give my 10. Tyler will give his 10. It'll be a lot of fun. We'll have interaction with you tomorrow, 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern. Should be a lot of fun as we sort of give you our final stamp of 2024 as we all welcome in the new year. Tyler, chat check-in, anything for us?
Smuffs, going back to the Muppets, have you guys seen the HBO Max deal with Sesame Street is ending, and now they're having trouble finding a home?
So
We talked about that a little bit.
we did. We talked about that here on Meltdown Live. It was one of our big topics one day. And the thing that's interesting here is that it looks like Max, which is the current home of Sesame Street,
Mhm.
that they want to keep the library, but they're not really interested about producing new Sesame Street. They feel like they got enough in the tank to where
I mean,
people will still turn to them for the library and they don't need to continue to pour money into the new production.
that's fair.
It's fair unless you're part of the production crew on Sesame
Right.
Street and you're like, oh, no, no, no. We got to keep this thing running to not only protect the legacy of the show, because once it takes a couple seasons off, all of a sudden, all you're relying on is the old stuff.
Well, my argument to that would be how relevant is Sesame Street nowadays?
Well, it's definitely run up against an array of content. Sesame Street used to be the only thing that kids could turn to, really. I mean,
Right.
there was a limited amount of things that you could consume as a kid that were designed for you. And cutting cable really affected like a Sesame Street, even though it was on public television, people getting out of the routine of turning to channels instead of turning to YouTube channels or turning to content that they could binge on Disney Plus. I don't know what the future of Sesame Street is going to be. You would think that Disney would have interest in this. Like, why not? Iconic characters, bring them into the fold, pair them up.
Plus, you already own the Muppets.
Correct. Like,
Yeah, I could see that working. Um, Man, it's such a loss for kids' television, though, because I mean, I remember watching it on PBS Kids along with Zaboomafoo and everything else.
I'm convinced you're making up words, but
Oh, you don't know about Zaboomafoo?
I don't know about Zaboomafoo.
Oh,
I missed that.
he was a ring-tailed lemur that jumped around and taught you about animals.
You ever heard of Barney the dinosaur?
I have.
Okay, that was
I watched him before Zaboomafoo.
that was more my era there. But okay, so Zaboomafoo. You're learning all sorts of things here. I am on the Meltdown. That's the story for this is not officially done. Like, will Sesame Street find a home? I think that the chances are likely yes, because there's a lot of parties that don't want to see the production on that show stop. Anything else with the chat that we can sort of get to here in our final few moments? Because you guys have been very active in there talking about, I saw a big conversation about what robots are considered to be good robots and all of that. And I hope that a lot of you, if you consider yourself to be big fans of atmospheric horror, that you go see Nosferatu so you can be a part of that conversation there coming up. Because I have a feeling it'll be coming up again tomorrow, potentially in our best of the year conversation.
Yep. Here's Smuff's list of good robots. He says the Autobots,
Mhm.
Data, which I'm not sure what is
Star
Data?
Trek,
Okay,
the
Star
next
Trek.
generation. Yeah.
Gotcha. Johnny Five,
Okay.
Sonny. What is Sonny from?
Sunny. Sunny. How's it spelled?
Sonny.
Uh, I don't know. I'm thinking of Sunny from The Godfather right now, but
That's not right.
I don't know about Sunny.
Baymax,
Yeah.
R2D2, C3PO, BB-8, and the Iron Giant. And he says also, oh, okay, you can add Chappie and TARS too.
Did he put Wally in there?
Wally is not in the
I
list.
mean, that's got to be in there, right? And Eve, I guess, both of them.
I guess I'm not a fan of that movie.
I'm not really a big fan either, but I feel like they need to be on the list.
And
All right.
then Saybear says Memoirs of a Snail is best animated feature, hands down.
Okay. I haven't seen it, so I don't know for sure. I just know in the battle of Wild Robot versus Inside Out 2, I'm team Inside Out 2 out of those two. So, all right, that's going to do it for us here on the Meltdown. We appreciate all of you once again being a part of the dialogue here on the live show. We'll be back again tomorrow unveiling our favorite movies of the year. We'll get into 20 picks, 10 from Tyler, 10 from me, and have a good, hearty discussion about where we line up and where we differ. It'll be a fun time here as we count down to the new year tomorrow here live on the Meltdown. Make sure you subscribe and hit that little notification bell if you haven't already.